Hi everyone, I am Sibella. We are group number 4. We deals with the topic CNS stimulants and cognition enhancers. So I am here today to talk to you about the introduction part of CNS stimulants and classification. Moving on to the introduction part, CNS are the central nervous system that stimulates the brain by speeding up both mental and physical processes. CNS stimulants enhance the activity of several centers of brain or spinal cord by stimulating the vital regions of the CNS. The effects of CNS stimulants includes increased alertness, hyperactivity, increased concentration, motivation, elevated mood, increased energy. They decrease the need for sleep, reduce appetite, and improve confidence. Now, let's move on to the classification of CNS stimulants. They are mainly classified as convulsants, analeptic, psychostimulants. The drugs under convulsants are strychnine, picrotoxin, bicuculin, pendolin tetrazole. The drug under analeptic is doxapram. The drugs under psychostimulants are amphetamines, methylphenidate, atomoxetine, modafinil, armodafinil, cocaine, and caffeine. Analeptics. Analeptic is a CNS stimulant. The term analeptic typically refers to respiratory analeptics. So, they are the drugs which are used to stimulate the respiratory rate and the tidal volume. They act on CNS and stimulate different chemoreceptors in the brainstem and vasomotor in the spinal cord. Also, increase the respiratory rate. They increase the urge to breathe and thereby increase breathing. So, the drug under analeptic is doxapram. So, doxapram is an analeptic agent. Respiratory action is manifested by an increase in tidal volume associated by slight increase in respiratory rate. Acts on brainstem and spinal cord. They can increase the activity of the medullary respiration and vasomotor centers which given as IV infusion. So here's the picture of doxapram HCl injection. It is a 400 mg per 20 ml which is administered as IV infusion. Mechanism of action. Doxapram stimulates chemoreceptors in the carotid bodies of carotid arteries which in turn stimulates the respiratory center in brainstem. Moving on to the actions on central nervous system, it increases the release of catecholamines on respiratory tract. It increases the respiratory rate on cardiovascular system. It increases the cardiac output. Pharmacokinetics. Doxapram is given intravenously. Poor absorption is seen in newborns. Doxapram has a mean volume of distribution of about 1.5 I per kg in adults. Metabolized by liver, excretion through kidney. The main side effects are cough, flushing, sweating, headache, nausea, vomiting. The adverse effects are tachycardia, muscle twitching, hypertension, restlessness, cough. Uses are, they are used in respiratory depression due to hypnotic drug poisoning, used in failure of ventilation after general anesthesia, that is respiratory paralysis, used to stimulate respiration, used to suppress shivering after surgery. Contraindications. They are contraindicated in respiratory failure in asthma, respiratory failure in neurological disorder, epilepsy. Moving on to the convulsants. They act in the brainstem or spinal cord to produce tonic or clonic convulsions, often by removing normal inhibitory tone. The drugs under convulsions are strychnine, picrotoxin, bicuculin, and pentylene tetrazole. Strychnine. It is an alkaloid from the seeds of Strychnos nux vomica that it is a potent convulsant. The convulsions are reflex, tonic-clonic, symmetrical. Strychnine is a neurotoxin which is capable for stimulating the entire CNS. Picrotoxin. It is obtained from fish berries of East Indies Anamirta cocculus. It is a potent convulsant. Convulsions are clonic, spontaneous, asymmetrical. It is a non-competitive antagonist of GABA A receptor. Next one is the bicuculin. Bicuculin is a phthalimide isoquinone compound that it is a light sensitive competitive antagonist of GABA A receptor, intrinsic chloride channel receptor. It is only a research tool, so it has no therapeutic use. Phenyltetrazole. It acts as a potent CNS stimulant which is used as an experimental tool in animal, acts as an antagonist of GABA A receptor. Thus, by reducing the inhibitory action of GABA A, CNS stimulation is produced. Convulsions produced by this PTZ can be treated by diazepam and clonazepam. So, strychnine. We can see this picture of strychnine tree. So, strychnine is a highly toxic, colorless, bitter, crystalline alkaloid. Strychnine, when inhaled, swallowed or absorbed through the eyes or mouth, causes poisoning which result in muscular convulsions and eventually death through asphyxia. Asphyxia means it is a condition of deficient supply of oxygen to the body that arises from abnormal breathing. Mechanism of action. Strychnine is a neurotoxin which is capable for stimulating the entire CNS. Strychnine acts as a blocker or antagonist at strychnine sensitive glycine receptor, which is a ligand gated ion channel in the spinal cord and the brain. Glycine receptors are arranged as 5 subunits surrounding a central pore, with each subunit composed of 4 alpha helical transmembrane segments. The strychnine binding subunit of the glycine receptor shows homology with nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. Glycine receptors are found in brain areas including the hippocampus, amygdala, ventral tegmental area and periaqueductal gray. Moving on to the pharmacological effects on central nervous system, repeated convulsions with opisthotonos. It means that it is the abnormal posturing caused by strong muscle spasm. In skin, hypersensitivity occurs. Cardiovascular system, tachycardia and rise in BP occurs. On smooth muscle, contraction of all voluntary muscles including chest, abdominal muscles, hypertonicity of muscles. On respiratory tract, respiratory failure occurs. So, moving on to the poisonous effects of strychnine. Strychnine is a poisonous alkaloid of indole type found in genus Strychnos. The poisonous effects on strychnine resembles to tetanus toxoid produced by Clostridium tetani and botulinum toxin produced by Clostridium botulinum. Treatment. It can be treated effectively by diazepam and clonazepam parenterally. Barbiturates found to be effectively against the convulsions produced by strychnine. Oral administration of an activated charcoal which absorbs any unabsorbed poison within the digestive tract. Unabsorbed strychnine can be removed from the stomach by gastric lavage with tannic acid or potassium permanganate solution to oxidize strychnine. On moving to the pharmacokinetics, strychnine is quickly absorbed by GIT, mainly from intestine. Due to slight protein binding, strychnine leaves to bloodstream quickly and distributed to the tissues. Also, within few minutes of ingestion, strychnine can detected in urine. Metabolism is by liver and it have a half-life of 10 hours. Excreted through urine. So the main side effects of strychnine are tremors, convulsions, earness, suffocation, death usually taking place after 3 or 4 convulsions. Uses. Used as pesticide particularly for killing small vertebrates or rodents. Used in veterinary medicine as CNS stimulant and tonic. Used as antidote in barbiturate poisoning. That's the end of my topic. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, this is Namrata Krishna and I am here to present a seminar on the topic psychostimulants, which is a class of drug which comes under CNS stimulant. The CNS stimulant mostly produce a generalized action which may at higher doses result in convulsions. They are drugs which increase the muscular and the mental activities. Their effect vary from increase in the alertness and wakefulness to the production of convulsions and sometimes lead to death in overdose. Psychostimulants. Stimulants, also referred to as psychostimulants, is a term that covers many drugs. Those increase the activity of the central nervous system and the body. These drugs are pleasurable and they have sympathomimetic effects. Psychostimulants or stimulants are medicines often prescribed for people with ADHD, that is, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They can help them focus thoughts and ignore distraction. Prescription stimulants treat ADHD and narcolepsy. They increase alertness, attention, and energy. Some people use these prescription stimulants to try to improve mental performance. Teens and college students sometimes misuse them to get better grades, and older adults misuse them to try to improve memory. Taking stimulants for reasons other than ADHD or narcolepsy could lead to harmful health effects such as addiction, heart problems, or psychosis. Now we can deal with attention deficit hyperkinetic disorder ADHD. ADHD is also known as minimal brain dysfunction. It is usually detected in childhood. The sufferer is considered as hyperkinetic child. It is largely a genetic disorder. Environmental factors such as lead, paint and pipes also causes ADHD, and from blood relatives like parents or siblings with ADHD also it can be caused. Alcoholism and smoking of the mother during pregnancy can cause ADHD. ADHD is recognized as a mild grade of mental retardation or a reduction in the ability to concentrate. Hyperactivity, inability to concentrate, impulsive behavior are the symptoms. Now we can deal with narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is an autoimmune disorder. Chronic sleep disorder causes overwhelming daytime drowsiness. It is caused by lack of the brain chemical hypocretin or orexin which regulates sleep. The deficiency is thought to be the result of immune system mistakenly attacking the part of the brain, that is the hypothalamus, that produces hypocretin. The figure here shows the hypocretin or orexin. Now we can deal with the psychostimulant drugs. Drugs in this class are divided into four groups. The first group is amphetamine group, which consists of amphetamine, dexamphetamine, methamphetamine, methylene dioxide methamphetamine, methylphenidate and fenfluramine. The second group is non-amphetamine group, which consists of modafinil, atomoxetine, sibutramine, pimoline, and the third group, which is the cocaine, and it is a natural alkaloid. And the fourth group is methyl xanthines, which consist of caffeine, theophylline and theobromine. Now we can study in detail about amphetamine group. Amphetamine have an apparently paradoxical effect to calm down hyperkinetic children. Amphetamine, by increasing the attention span, improve behavior and performance in studies. The children become more amenable. However, growth retardation may occur due to the reduction in appetite. The risk-benefit ratio of such therapy favors use of amphetamine. Amphetamine have predominant cortical action. Their psychic effects are more predominant than those on medullary vital centers. Amphetamine, which is a racemic mixture, the dexamphetamine D-isomer, and methamphetamine are synthetic sympathomimetic compounds with central actions. Dexamphetamine and methamphetamine have higher central peripheral activity ratio than amphetamine. All these three forms increases the mental rather than the motor activity. Mechanism of action. Amphetamine is a stimulant drug that mainly used in the treatment of ADHD. Many drugs like Adderall primarily contains amphetamine. Amphetamine binds with the transporter protein for monoamines like dopamine, norepinephrine and serotonin, and it can be taken upon into these neurons via these transporter protein. Once inside these neurons, amphetamine disrupts the storage of monoamines, that is the dopamine, serotonin and norepinephrine in the synaptic vesicle. One way this is done by inhibiting the protein vesicular monoamine transporter 2, that is the VMAT2, whose normal role is to transport the monoamines into the vesicles. Inhibition of VMAT2 lead to higher level of these neurons in the neurons. Through the mechanism or mechanisms that is still not fully understood, amphetamine is able to cause the monoamine transporter protein to run in reverse, leading to increased release of monoamines, especially dopamine and norepinephrine. An increased release of these neurotransmitters in the synaptic cleft occurs. These elevated monoamines level have various effects on different parts of the central nervous system. Although primary action of the amphetamine is to cause increased release of monoamines, there are other mechanisms contribute to effect of drug. Example, amphetamine also compete with monoamines to reuptake into the neurons, thus inhibit reuptake, and it may inhibit the activity of the monoamine oxidase, an enzyme that metabolizes monoamines. The effect of both these actions is to additionally enhance the level of monoamines in neurons and synaptic cleft. The figure here shows the mechanism of amphetamine. Pharmacological effect. Central effect. Alertness, increased concentration, attention span, postponement of sleep, euphoria, increased work capacity, talkativeness. Athlete performance improved temporarily followed by deterioration. One of the drugs included in DOP test for athletes to check whether the athlete is taking performance enhancing drug. Peripheral effect: increased BP, inhibition of GI motility, fatigue, stimulate respiratory center. Hunger suppression, inhibition of hypothalamic feeding center. Amphetamines are drug of abuse. Abusers, generally teenagers, cause thrill kick on IV administration. High dose causes euphoria, restlessness, insomnia, aggression, panic, marked excitement, which may progress to mental confusion, delirium, hallucination, and acute psychotic state. Treatment of amphetamine toxicity: chloramphenicol, chlorpromazine. Adverse drug reaction: arrhythmia, angina, hypertension, palpitation, dry mouth, metallic taste, diarrhea, abdominal cramp, toxic effect on CNS, seizure, hallucination, dependence, tolerance. Uses: ADHD, obesity, diabetes and dyslipidemia. Doses: amphetamine 5 to 50 mg oral, dexamphetamine 5 to 10 mg. Now we can deal with methylphenidate, an amphetamine-like drug which produces milder side effect and lesser growth retardation. Methylphenidate is considered superior to amphetamine for ADHD because causes lesser tachycardia and growth retardation. Behavior and learning ability improved. Also for concentration and attention deficit in adults, narcolepsy. Chemically and pharmacologically similar to amphetamine. Both act primarily by releasing noradrenaline and dopamine in brain. Both increase mental activity. Methylphenidate is superior to amphetamine for ADHD in children because it causes lesser tachycardia and growth retardation. Behavior and learning ability are improved in 3 out of 4 treated children. Methylphenidate is also used for concentration and attention deficit in adults and narcolepsy, but should not be employed to treat dementia, depression, obesity, or to keep awake. Pharmacokinetics: it is absorbed orally, metabolized and excreted in urine. Plasma T-half is 4 to 6 hours, but central effect lasts for more time. Twice daily dosing, morning and afternoon. Side effects: anorexia, insomnia, growth retardation, abdominal discomfort and bowel upset. Dose: adult 5 to 10 mg BD, children 0.25 mg per kilogram per day initially, increased up to 1 mg per kilogram per day if needed. Now we can deal with the third group, that is the non-amphetamine group. It has same mechanism of action, pharmacological action, areas, uses and that of the amphetamine group. Atomoxetine. This is selective sodium noradrenaline reuptake inhibitor, unrelated to amphetamine. Do not enhance dopamine release in brain. Neither CNS stimulant nor an antidepressant. It improves attention span and behavior in ADHD indicated in children greater than 6 years and in adults with concentration and attention problem. Pharmacokinetics: absorbed orally, excreted in urine, should be given with MAO inhibitors and is contraindicated in glaucoma. Dose: 0.5 mg per kilogram per day in morning, may increase up to 1.2 mg per kilogram per day and split into morning and afternoon doses. Adults 40 mg OD, maximum 100 mg per day. A drug is atenolol. Side effect: dyspepsia, anorexia, other abdominal symptoms, sleep disturbances, mood swings, growth retardation possible in children. Uses: ADHD. Modafinil. It is used for night shift workers and professionals to improve alertness and keep awake, increase attention span and improve accuracy, reduce euphoria produced by and to suppress cocaine withdrawal symptoms. Modafinil is being evaluated as a drug to prevent relapse of cocaine dependence. Side effects: insomnia and headache, nausea, dyspepsia, dizziness, confusion, amnesia, personality disorder, tremor, and hypertension. Dependence occur on long-term use. Pharmacokinetic. Absorbed orally 2 to 4 hours. T-half 15 hours. Dose 100 to 200 mg morning and afternoon for daytime sleepiness due to narcolepsy or sleep apnea syndrome. 200 mg per hour before starting night shift. Cocaine. Mechanism of action. Cocaine exhibits CNS stimulant activity by blocking the reuptake of dopamine, serotonin, and noradrenaline. This leads to the increase in neurotransmitter level at the synaptic cleft. Augmented dopamine level result in increased peripheral sympathomimetic and psychomotor stimulation. Pharmacokinetic. It is well absorbed orally. Can also be given by intranasal route, snorted as a powder. IV administration of cocaine causes protoplasmic poisoning, further lead to tissue necrosis, metabolized in liver. Adverse drug reaction. Acute toxicity. CNS manifestation. Sympathomimetic activation by cocaine result in vasoconstriction which cause hypertension, tachycardia, myocardial infarction, multiple brain perfusions. Overdose of cocaine causes cardiac arrhythmias. GI manifestation. Gastric stimulation lead to nausea, vomiting, deficiency of plasma cholinesterases and other metabolic enzymes. Now, chronic toxicity. Prolonged use of cocaine, drug abuse and addiction occurs. Consequence: hepatic failure, renal failure, seizure. Cocaine is harmful for pregnant women because of teratogenicity. Teratogenic abnormalities include premature birth, intrauterine growth retardation, microcephaly, even lead to neonatal death. Uses: it is used as a topical anesthetic agent. Topical anesthetic agent to induce anesthesia in ears, nose, rectum, vagina and throat because of its vasoconstrictive action. Also used in solution form to produce anesthesia in mucous membrane. Methylxanthines. The drug coming under methylxanthines is caffeine. CNS action. Caffeine and theophylline are CNS stimulants primarily affect the higher centers. Caffeine improves alertness, allays fatigue, thinking becomes clearer. It improves performance and increases motor activity. Higher activity causes nervousness, restlessness, panic, insomnia and excitement. Theophylline is more preferred than caffeine. Pharmacokinetics. Poor water solubility. Absorbed orally. Metabolized in liver. Plasma T-half is 3 to 6 hours in adults. Adverse drug reactions. Caffeine poisoning, gastric irritation, nausea, vomiting, nervousness, insomnia, tachycardia, delirium, and convulsion at toxic doses. Caffeine uses avoided for peptic ulcer patients. Uses analgesic. Migraine, where caffeine plus ergotamine combination is used. Here, caffeine is used for constriction of the cranial vessel and by enhancing the absorption of ergotamine from GIT. And it is used for apnea. Note: caffeine is available only in combination formulation with ergotamine or analgesics in tablets. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Gopika from Second Farm D. Today I am taking the topic Cognition Enhancers or Cerebroactive Drugs. Cognition enhancers are the heterogeneous group of drugs developed for use in dementia and other cerebral disorders. They do elicit pharmacological effects, but widely different mechanisms of actions are claimed. Therapeutic benefits are limited and at the best, and they are short acting. Here I am discussing about two diseases, Alzheimer's disease and dementia. The first one is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder which affects older individuals and is the most common cause of dementia. The Alzheimer's disease is a disabling senile dementia, the loss of reasoning and the ability to care for oneself that afflicts about 11% of the population over age 65. The Alzheimer's disease is the fourth leading cause of death among elderly after heart disease, stroke, and cancer. The cause of most Alzheimer's disease cases is still unknown, but the evidence suggests it is due to the combination of genetic factors, environmental or lifestyle factors, and aging process. The mutation in three different genes, that is coding for presenilin 1, presenilin 2, and amyloid precursor protein, led to early onset forms of Alzheimer's disease in afflicted families but account for less than 1% of all cases. At autopsy, the brain of victims of Alzheimer's disease show three distinct structural abnormalities. The first one is loss of neurons that liberate acetylcholine. The second one is beta amyloid plaques, and the third one is neurofibrillary tangles. Here the figure shows the normal brain and the Alzheimer's brain. In the normal brain, the neurons can be seen, and in Alzheimer's brain, in addition to the neurons, the neurofibrillary tangles and the amyloid plaques also can be seen. The first structural abnormality is the loss of neurons that generate or liberate acetylcholine. A major center of neurons that liberate acetylcholine is the nucleus basalis, which is below the globus pallidus. The nucleus basalis, it is a group of neurons located mainly in the basal forebrain, and the globus pallidus is situated within the cerebral hemispheres and is a major component of the basal ganglia. The axons of these neurons project widely throughout the cerebral cortex and the limbic system. Their destruction is a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. The second abnormality is the beta amyloid plaques, or the clusters of abnormal proteins deposited outside the neurons. The amyloid plaques are extracellular lesions found in the brain and cerebral vasculature. The plaques are largely consist of amyloid beta. The amyloid beta peptide consisting of 36 to 43 amino acids are produced via processing of a larger protein APP, that is amyloid precursor protein. The amyloid beta 42 is less common than other amyloid beta proteins but is prone to aggregation and plaque formation. The amyloid cascade hypothesis states that there is an imbalance between the production and clearance of amyloid beta peptides, resulting in the aggregation that causes accumulation of amyloid beta, ultimately leading to Alzheimer's disease. The studies on younger onset of Alzheimer's disease and Down syndrome led to the formulation of the amyloid cascade hypothesis. The recent version of the amyloid cascade hypothesis assumes amyloid beta that is not sequestered in plaques actually drives the disease. The amyloid cascade hypothesis is seen most applicable in cases of younger onset autosomal dominant Alzheimer's disease. It is not clear whether it is reasonable to etiologically extrapolate to the late onset form. If treatment is efficiently reduce amyloid beta production or remove the brain amyloid beta fail to arrest disease progression. It would argue amyloidosis is not the primary pathology of those with Alzheimer's disease. The third abnormality is the neurofibrillary tangles. The abnormal bundles of filaments inside the neurons affected brain regions. These filaments consist of a protein called tau that has been hyperphosphorylated. The tau protein is the group of 6 highly soluble protein isoforms produced by alternative splicing from the gene MAT. MAT means microtubule associated protein tau. The neurofibrillary tangles are commonly found in the cells of hippocampus and cerebral cortex in persons with Alzheimer's disease and are composed of abnormally hyperphosphorylated tau protein. The tau protein provides structural support to the microtubules, the cell's transportation, and the skeletal support system. When the tau filaments undergo abnormal phosphorylation at a specific site, they cannot bind to effectively to microtubules. The cell cannot function properly and eventually the cell dies. The density of the neurofibrillary tangles correlates with the severity of the dementia. The neurofibrillary tangles are found in other dementia illness besides Alzheimer's disease and may represent a common method by which various inciting factors culminate the cell death. The treatment for AD. The drugs that inhibits acetylcholine esterase, the enzyme that inactivates acetylcholine, improves alertness and behaviors, is about 5% of Alzheimer's disease patients. And the next one is dementia. Dementia is characterized by a gradual deterioration of intellectual capacity. Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, dementia in Lewy bodies, and frontotemporal dementia are the most important diseases of cognitive dysfunction in elderly. The vascular dementia is the most important cause of dementia. It usually occurs in patients in their 60s and 70s and is more common in those with a previous history of hypertension or stroke. In patients with Alzheimer's disease, the damage to the cholinergic neurons connecting subcortical nuclei to the cerebral cortex has been consistently observed. The postsynaptic muscarinic cholinergic receptors are usually not affected, but the ascending noradrenergic or serotonergic pathways are damaged, especially in the younger patients. The major risk factors are aging, smoking, uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, hypertension, alcohol, genetics, etc. And the symptoms of dementia. The symptoms of dementia depends upon which part of the brain is affected. The first symptom is forgetfulness. It causes the problems with the ability to think, problem solving and reasoning. For example, get lost of the familiar neighborhood, forgot old memories, use casual words to refer to familiar objects, forgot the name of close family member or friend, need help doing tasks that they are used to do by themselves. They cannot control their emotions and personalities may change. They are no longer interested in the normal daily activities or events. They stop caring about others' feelings. Certain type of dementia can also cause problems with balance and movement. Then the dementia can be classified into two types, mild and severe. The mild dementia, it is just a beginning to affect a person's functioning, and in most severe stages, the person is completely dependent on others for care. And the diagnosis for dementia. There is no one test to determine if someone has dementia. The doctors diagnose Alzheimer's and other type of dementia based on a careful medical history, physical examination, laboratory test, and the characteristic changes in thinking, memory, language abilities, mental health evaluation, etc. The treatment for dementia are medications, occupational therapy, speech therapy, mental health counseling, etc. And the indications of the cognition enhancers are Alzheimer's disease and multi-infarct dementia. Multi-infarct dementia is the brain damage caused by multiple strokes. And in the mild cognitive impairment or common symptoms of the elderly like dizziness and episodic memory lapses, mental retardation in children, learning defects, attention deficit disorders, the transient ischemic attacks, cerebrovascular accident, stroke. The transient ischemic attack is the temporary blockage of blood to the brain, a brief stroke-like attack that resolves in minute to hours, and it is the warning sign of future stroke. The organic psychosyndromes and sequelae of head injury, ECT, brain surgery. ECT means electroconvulsive therapy, etc. Then the last part, the classification of the cognition enhancers. The cognition enhancers can be classified into three types: cholinergic activators, glutamate antagonists, and miscellaneous drugs. Under the cholinergic activators, the drugs are rivastigmine, donepezil, and galantamine. Under the glutamate antagonist, the drug is memantine. And under the miscellaneous drugs, the drugs are pyracetam, pyretinol, dihydroergotoxin, citicoline, and pyridinal, ginkgo biloba, etc. Thank you. That's all about my topic. The rest of the portions will be covered by
everyone. Today we are discussing about cognition enhancers and is taken by Ansmaria from 2nd Form D. Cognition enhancers are also known as cerebroactive drugs, smart drugs, nootropic drugs, brain boosters, memory boosters, neuroenhancers, drive drugs, etc. Then coming to the definition, cognition enhancers are heterogeneous group of drugs that are developed for use in dementia as well as cerebral disorders that including Alzheimer's disease. They mainly work by enhancing blood flow to localized area of cerebrum, augmenting neuronal metabolism, and enhancement of neurotransmission. These drugs also used in learning defect in children, mental retardation, stroke, brain surgery, etc. The primary goal of treatment of Alzheimer's disease are to improve the quality of life of the patient. The treatment is forward towards not to cure the disease, but is directed to reduce the symptoms. Then coming to the classification, first classification is cholinergic activators that including rivastigmine, donepezil, and galantamine. And the second class is glutamate antagonist that including memantine. And the third class is miscellaneous drugs that including dihydroergotaxin, pyracetam, ginkgo biloba, and pyridinal. Then the first class is cholinergic activators. In case of Alzheimer's disease, it is characterized by a decreased acetylcholine in brain as well as reduced neurotransmission. So, our treatment is towards increasing the acetylcholine. This drug works by inhibiting the enzyme from breaking the acetylcholine when travel from one cell to another, therefore increasing the acetylcholine, and that may lead to increased communication between the cells. The first class in this classification is rivastigmine. They are carbamate derivatives of isostigmine that inhibit both acetylcholineesterases as well as butyrylcholineesterases. It is a highly lipid soluble and enters into the brain easily. Bioavailability is 40%. Peak plasma concentration can be seen at 1 hour. It is also administered as transdermal patches and needs once daily dosing. Its dose is initially 1.5 mg BD and every week by 1.5 mg up to 6 mg BD. Side effects including nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, weakness, dizziness, etc. Then adverse effect, mainly gastrointestinal side effects. Then the next drug is chakrin. It is a centrally acting cholinergic activator which is used to enhance the cholinergic transmission in the brain. It improves memory, language, reasoning, but has some side effect. It is the first introduced drug for Alzheimer's disease. It has gone out due to hepatotoxicity. Then the next drug is galantamine. It is a natural alkaloid which is selectively inhibit cerebral acetylcholinesterase and has some agonistic action in the nicotinic receptor. It binds to the allosteric site of the nicotinic receptor and it produces behavior as well as cognitive benefit in Alzheimer's disease. Its absorption is rapid, bioavailability is 80 to 100%. Galantamine is not cure disease, but it can slow down the progression of symptoms. Along with food, delay the galantamine absorption. Side effects including mostly diarrhea, nausea, muscle pain, anorexia, hallucination, etc. Then the donepezil. This is the last drug in this class. They are carboselective and reversible anti-acetylcholinesterases and produces a measurable increase in several cognitive as well as non-cognitive functions which are maintained up to 2 years. They have a long half-life, so administered once daily at bedtime. These are advantage over galantamine and rivastigmine. Following multiple administration of donepezil, it accumulates in the plasma by 4.7-fold and steady state is attained after 15 days of once daily dosing. This is the mechanism of cholinergic cholinesterases inhibitors. We can see a presynaptic nerve terminal and a postsynaptic nerve terminal. So, when acetylcholine is released into the synaptic cleft, it is being break down by acetylcholinesterases as well as butyrylcholinesterases. The actual mechanism of this drug is to inhibit these enzymes, that is donepezil, rivastigmine as well as galantamine will inhibit acetylcholinesterases and the butyrylcholinesterases is inhibited by the rivastigmine. Also we can see that a galantamine will have an agonistic action in the nicotinic receptor and it binds to the allosteric site of the receptor. Then coming to the next classification, that is NMDA antagonist. So the main common neurotransmitter in this NMDA antagonist is glutamate and it is involved in learning and memory. Brain cell of Alzheimer's disease patient release excess of amount of glutamate and the excess of glutamate then may causes excitotoxicity and that causes damage to the neurons. So in case of Alzheimer's disease patient, they release excess amount of glutamate that causes excitotoxicity and damage to the neuron. NMDA receptor, also called N-methyl D-aspartate receptor, and is a ligand of glutamate which is a primary excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain. It is an ionotropic glutamate receptor. This is the way the NMDA receptor activation happens. This is the structure of NMDA receptor and the NMDA receptor is in the resting phase. There are it is been blocked by magnesium. There are two receptors, nicotinic receptor 1 and nicotinic receptor 2. When glycine or glutamate binding site of the nicotinic receptor of this subunit is binding by them, it causes the opening of the channel, but depolarization not occur while the magnesium plug in still blocking the channel, and depolarization happens when magnesium plug remove along with the glutamate and glycine binding on the receptor that may lead to the receptor activation. So as to the receptor activation happens. Then this picture will give a clear picture about the mechanism of action of membrane. That is the first figure. There is when glycine binds to the nicotinic receptor, it will causes the entry of calcium and that may causes the excitotoxicity of the neuron and causes the neurodegeneration. and when it is being blocked by membrane, it may calcium entry will blocked, and it may causes neuroprotection. Mechanism: activation of NMDA that may causes depolarization. NMDA channel unblock and permits the calcium entry. Also open voltage activated calcium channel, releasing more glutamate. Activation of the metabotropic receptor releases intracellular calcium from the nicotinic and sodium as well as calcium entry and stimulate the sodium calcium exchange. Depolarization inhibit reverses glutamate uptake that may causes increasing extracellular glutamate concentration. So depolarization inhibit or reversible glutamate uptake that may causes increasing extracellular glutamate concentration. Then the last drug in this class is memantine. This is the newer NMDA antagonist and has low to moderate affinity for NMDA receptor. Memantine sticks to the receptor and blocking the glutamate, and this prevents too much calcium from moving into the brain cell. The use of memantine is possible pharmaceutical approach to treating the symptoms of moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease. Used for other type of dementia and Parkinsonism as well. Severe side effects are blood clot, psychosis and heart failure. Adverse effect including dizziness. And the rest of the portion, that is miscellaneous drugs, is taken by Alina. Thank you.
Hi all, now we can move on to miscellaneous drugs. Miscellaneous drugs includes piracetam, pyretinol, dihydroergotoxin, ceticoline, pyribedyl, and ginkgo biloba. First miscellaneous drug is piracetam. It is a cyclic GABA derivative but does not have any GABA-like activity. GABA, we know it is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Piracetam has been called nootropic, meaning a drug that selectively improves efficiency of higher telencephalic integrity activities. Telencephalon, it is the anterior section of the forebrain comprising the cerebrum and the related structures. Piracetam is not a vasodilator. It does not affect total or regional cerebral blood fluid but may reduce blood viscosity. In India and some other countries, it has been long promoted for cognitive impairment and dementia in elderly people as well as mentally retarded children. Cognitive impairment, we know it is the difficulty in processing the thoughts, which may lead to memory loss, decision-making difficulties, inability to concentrate, and learning difficulties. Dementia is a chronic or persistent disorder of mental processes caused by brain disease or any brain injury. Mechanism of action of piracetam is not clear. It improves microcirculation in CNS. Uses: it is mainly used during loss of memory, vertigo, Alzheimer's disease, learning difficulties in children, during chronic alcoholism, and for alcohol withdrawal and coma. Pharmacokinetics: bioavailability of piracetam is 100%. Half-life is between 4 to 5 hours. Excretion is mainly through urine. It is contraindicated in pregnancy and non-recommended during lactation. Precautions must be taken during renal impairment. Side effects includes gastric discomfort, nervousness, excitement, insomnia, dizziness, and skin rashes. Second drug is pyretinol. It consists of two pyridoxine molecules joined by a disulfide bond, but it does not have any vitamin B6 activity. It is claimed to activate cerebral metabolism by selectively increasing glucose transport across blood-brain barrier and improving the regional blood flow in ischemic brain areas. It has been promoted for first sequelae of cerebrovascular accidents, head injury, prolonged anesthesia. Second, infants and children with development disorders of CNS, delayed milestone. Third, concentration and memory defects, senility, organic brain syndromes. Delayed milestone is also known as developmental delays. Pyretinol is also called pyridoxine disulfide, is a semi-synthetic water-soluble analog of vitamin B6. It was produced in Merck Laboratories by bonding two vitamin B6 compounds together with a disulfide bond. It has been withdrawn in some countries due to the risk of reaction. Side effects include flushing, headache, nasal congestion, postural hypertension, GI disturbances, and rashes. Third drug is pyribedyl. It is a dopaminergic agonist. It improves memory, concentration, vigilance, and to suppress giddiness. Giddiness, we know it is the feeling that you are about to fall. Tinnitus in elderly caused by cerebral circulatory insufficiency. Tinnitus, it is a ringing sensation in the ear, and also it produces minor symptomatic relief in Parkinsonism. Side effects include mild GI complaints. Fourth drug is citicoline. It is a compound derived from choline and cytidine. It involves in biosynthesis of lecithin. It improves cerebral function by increasing blood flow to brain and enhancing the cerebral metabolism. Some studies has demonstrated short-term improvement in memory and behavior in cerebrovascular disorder, but there is little convincing evidence. Fifth drug is ginkgo biloba. The leaves from ginkgo biloba tree has been used in Chinese medicine. Ginkgo biloba is considered world's oldest living tree and hence is called a living fossil, and it is resistant to pollution and disease. Several studies has been shown that it is helpful for memory problems caused by dementia or Alzheimer's disease and various other ailments such as liver fibrosis, inflammation, etc. The dried extract of this Chinese plant contain a mixture of gingoflavin glycosides which have PF, paroxysmal atrial fibrillation, and agonistic action. Since PAF has been implicated in cerebral thrombosis and infraction, it is professed that G. biloba will prevent cerebral impairment in cerebrovascular insufficiency. Next is the pharmacological activities of ginkgo biloba. First is the anti-inflammatory action. The plant extract is reported to show anti-inflammatory action. The action is mainly due to the presence of purified polysaccharides present in the plant. Intermittent claudication. Intermittent claudication is generalized as a pain due to the narrowing of or blocking of the artery that carry the blood to the leg. Next is the acute pancreatitis. Acute pancreatitis is an inflammatory condition of pancreas. The plant extract is demonstrated to be highly helpful in case of acute pancreatitis. The extract reduces the serum amylase as well as lipase level. Next, for the sexual dysfunction, ginkgo biloba extract has been shown positive results on sexual dysfunction in an open trial study conducted by A.J. Cohen and B. Barlick. It was concluded that the extract is important in treating the sexual dysfunction. Next is a neuroprotective function. Numerous studies conducted on the plant extract has been concluded that the plant is an effective neuroprotectant. Several in vitro as well as in vivo studies conducted using standardized ginkgo biloba extract has been proven this effect. For glaucoma treatment, ginkgo biloba has been shown its impact on glaucoma patients by enhancing the ocular blood flow. Side effects include mild upper GI symptoms and increased risk of bleeding. Thank you all.